Okay, Jeff's handy dandy easy chord speller system. I've taught hundreds and hundreds of students this, and it really helps. You just trust me and follow me for a minute. I'll have you spelling chords and nothing flat. Even complicated chords, quickly and efficiently and on the fly as you need them in music. So that's the first question, a little background. Why do you need to spell chords? Well, you need to know the notes and chords to build the scales that fit those chords. So you know what notes to improvise to those chords. You'll sound like you really know what you're doing then. Now, yes, I know that the Fiddle Jam approach is just one scale fits all chords in the beginning. That's correct, but I made sure, because I know the theory, that every one of the chords in every one of those songs fit that scale. This doesn't always happen in the real world. It's a great way to start. That's the whole Fiddle Jam book is based on, and you can have a career doing just that if you want. But that's not the way real music happens all the time, so you do need to know stuff. So now, knowing it without being too encumbered in your brain helps you emote better. Remember, less thinking, more goosebumps. That's always the goal here. Alright, so now, chords and their spelling is really the skeleton of the scale. I'll say that again because it's really important. Chords are the skeleton of the scale. It's the bones, it's the ribs. Now, in general, chords go every other note of the scale. Alright? But it's backwards thinking to have to know the whole scale and then think of every other note. If you know every other note first, you can easily fill in, even to make custom scales to fit those chords, which jazz musicians do all the time. Alright, scales that don't necessarily exist, we kind of alter as we need. Alright? So the approach here is everything is kind of an altered major scale, or major chord, major triad at this point. So it makes it a lot easier if you can think this stuff with as little mental processes as possible. Alright, that's an important statement. I'm going to stop there just for a second. Okay, like I was saying, it's all about the quick mental processes that make it easy to do this and blow scales, blow souls over whatever song. Even if you've never heard the song before, you train your ear and you can kind of know what you're doing and sound like you know what you're doing, and people respond to that. So, how does this work? Quick. Add 29 plus 37 in your head right now. 29 plus 37. 29 plus 37. Got it yet? 29 plus 37. Now, to get the answer, are you adding up on as you would with a pencil? Are you using your fingers in the air? That's probably inefficient. 29 plus 37 can be simplified in a way that our mind can deal with it easier. Human brains, I find, can only really think of one thing at a time. So, and this is the same way we'll use in our chord speller system. 29 is really 2 plus 9, or 20 plus 9, right? And 37 is really 30 plus 7. So we have 20 and 30, which together makes 50. And we had 9 and 7 left over. 9 plus 7 is what? 16. 16 is really 10 plus 6. So we had 50, we had 10 more, that's 60, and we have 6 left over, that's 66. Can you see the process, how we got there? Had no pencil, no paper, no fingers or toes in the air, nothing. It was quite easy. So again, 29 plus 37 is really 20 plus 30, and 7 plus 9, which is 16, plus, which is 10, which adds, it makes it 60, and 6 left over, 66. Now our chord speller system works the same way, the same kind of mental processes. So people ask me, how did you come to think this stuff so fast? Well, it's a quick story. I'll tell my whole story elsewhere in these videos. But my mother, church organist, started me on piano when I was 5 years old, and it was usually a fight. I know a lot of piano teachers who swap kids because it's hard to teach your own kids. It was usually a fight to practice and stuff, but that's cool. My mother went to a organ recital one time of a professional organist, multi-manualed foot pedals, and she came home realizing, oh my God, I need to learn some more stuff, some music theory. This guy was all over the place. Not only was he playing, the 4 parts of the hymns, but he was also adding new bass parts and trumpet ostinato parts on top, improvising, and then they'd change keys, so you're reading 4 parts at once and also playing them in a different key while making improvising parts on the top and making up bass lines with your feet. She was like, wow, I need to learn some more stuff. Which she did. She went and got some theory lessons from a local teacher. Mrs. Heinemann, I believe her name was. I was quite little. And basically, she learned the basics enough to be able to read a fake book chart. She could plunk down a triad or 7th chord in her left hand and play the melody in the right hand. That's all she needed. to know that language, and she taught it to me. My assignments when I was 9 or 10 years old were to write out a chord and make up a little melody. So I got an early start in improvisation in a way, or composition. Now, my mother never needed to go any further past it. I went much past that as I studied jazz guitar and theory and stuff later. But I realized in the interim years between age 10 and maybe 14 to 16, when I was really formulating my jazz thing, I had kind of made up my own system how I think of this stuff on piano as a kid. I was a 10-year-old mind. 10-year-olds don't want to do anything that's hard or think hard, which is advantage now to you. And I realized later as I started teaching this stuff that it's the same system that we just added with. It's based on 7 of the most easy to remember triads, major triads on the piano. Now we'll go into this more later, but it's C major, D major, E major, F major, G major, A major, and B flat major. Those are the 7 I chose in my mind, or coagulated into my mind, whether I was making up a system or not. It's happened that way. That were the easiest possible on the piano to remember. Why? Because they had the least amount of black keys. Simple as that. They have nothing to do with each other. They're just 7 of them that I blankly memorized as the easiest. And then I went from there. Just like in the math, you take givens. Well, it's a given that we can add by tens pretty easily. Most people can. And it's the same thing. If in music, if we have a given that we know a similar chord that's a major chord, it's the basis for everything, then anything else is just an altered major chord. If you know C major, C, E, G, and you need C minor, you just flat the third. C, E flat, G. That's a C minor chord. Now, in classical music theory teachings, you'd have to know relative major and minor. So to know the key signature and what notes are in a C minor chord, you have to go, okay, C is the 6th degree of which major scale? It'll take a while to figure that out. You eventually figure out it's the key of E flat major. The 6th note of E flat major is C. So then if I use the key signature from E flat major but start on C, I'll have my C minor scale. You'd have to have also memorized that the E flat key signature has 3 flats, which are B flat, E flat, and A flat, and then start on C. C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. Okay, I got my C minor scale now, and now I need to go every other note to make that C minor chord. Okay, so that's C, E flat, G. By this time the chord is gone, maybe the song is even over. Too much thinking for an improviser. Alright? So, but if you know C major, you just flat the third and you're there. Bum, bum. 2 steps and you're there, rather than all that complicated stuff that classical music kind of makes us do. So, it's a 10-year-old version of knowing what a C minor chord is. Is it cheating? Kind of along the classical lines, it is, but it works. Alright? The idea is to not think so you can emote more and give and get goosebumps. Remember, that's always the goal. And if mental processes gets in the way, get rid of them. And the easiest possible way to know the answer means you can play all that more, unencumbered. Alright, now let's go into that a little further.